Who wants a pot of coffee? I just made coffee. You want a cup of coffee? Sure, there you go. Who wants coffee? Anybody else want coffee? Who wants coffee?
And now it's time for the man with the caffeine, the new tropics for the brain. It's Coffee with Mike. Hang in, hang tight, grab your cup, and let's get this thing started.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Java Chat. It's Coffee with Mike, and today I have an actual entrepreneur. Like, yes, there she is. You guys, this is someone who has been there, done that, and ran the classic example of what an entrepreneur goes through when they are looking to do something different because the norm isn't working anymore. So please welcome my guest, Sarah St. John. Sarah, thanks for joining me on Java Chat.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, this is I love talking with entrepreneurs because they always come up with crazy ideas that we all look at and go, that might actually work. How do we do it? You know, I mean, we love startups, we love new ideas, we love starting businesses and getting them kicking and getting them on their feet and letting them walk on their own, and then going and starting another one. I had a relational analogy with giving birth, but I'm not going to go there because that one can get messy. But when it comes to your history, give us like where are you from? Who are you? Where you been? And then give us that journey that you figured it out that you needed to do something else, or was it an itch you just needed to scratch? Or tell us about you.
Sure, yeah. So I am in Dallas, Texas, and I started my entrepreneurial journey over a decade ago. It was 2008. I had 6 different jobs that year and decided that I needed to work for myself. So I started a photography business.
Nice.
But I realized that while I like taking photos of animals and architecture and landscapes, I didn't like taking photos of people. But that's where the money is. I
Guilty.
was, yeah, I was doing like weddings and portraits.
Huh?
But the bigger issue actually was just the expense to maintain and upkeep equipment. And so I decided to shift to an online business model, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And so I
Okay.
tried a bunch of different things like affiliate marketing, blogging,
The normal run of digital. Yeah, I got you.
yeah, drop shipping, all that.
Yep. Yep.
And it was throughout the course of that I discovered all these free or affordable tools and resources that you can maintain a business on a budget online. So I decided to write a book called Frugalpreneur. And then while I was writing the book, I decided to launch a podcast also called Frugalpreneur, but it was just meant to be like, maybe 10 episodes. It was just going to coincide with the book and be
Oh, sure. Yeah, you fell in the same trap we've all fallen into.
exactly. Yeah,
Just a
I
couple.
gained I gained more traction and leverage with the podcast than the book.
Yeah.
And love the connections I was making and networking and whatnot. So I've kept up the podcast. I'm like in 80 episodes or so in. And I was editing my own podcast and people would compliment me on it. So I decided to start a podcast production agency because I figured
Uh-huh.
why not get paid
Uh-huh.
to do it for other people.
That's right. That's right.
And so I'm now all in on podcasting, but it took like a decade to get to that point of trying this, that, and the other thing to finally find that thing that really stuck. So
Uh,
that's where I'm at now. And I'm also creating a course right now called Podcast Profit Pro.
nice.
And so yeah, all in on the podcasting.
So let me take you back to '08.
Mm.
6 jobs.
Yeah, well, not at the same time. It was throughout the course of the year. So
Oh,
like one,
so it's one after the other after the other.
yeah, which was unusual for me because I'm used to having a job for at
Yeah.
least a year, if
Yeah.
not like a decade. I had one job for a decade. So it was, but it just wasn't working out job after job.
So in your mind, what were you thinking? Because I mean, you got to the realization eventually, I'm gonna have to do something else. But I
Mhm.
mean, in the midst of all of this, what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, I think in a way I've always been an entrepreneur or, you know, I don't know if you're born that way or what, but in your genes or DNA or something, because even as a kid, I was, gathering up things I got for free, like free candy, free pencils and whatnot, and then selling them to my
That would be an
friends.
entrepreneur. Yep. Yep, that's totally an entrepreneur.
So I think I always had that in me, but you go to school and then they basically present you with college as the only option. So I did that. I just got a 2-year degree, and then started working and whatnot. But I guess I didn't really think of entrepreneurship as an option. It wasn't really like, you know, but it was after I'd had job after job after job that I was like, I don't think working for someone else is really working out for me.
Exactly. It just kind of gets to that point. And this is any entrepreneur will say this. It'd be just like, I've always had this bug. I've always had this itch. I need to go do
Mhm.
something else. I can't work for somebody else. The the old cliche ones are, why build someone else's dreams when you can build your own? No, I can't work for other people. I'm psychologically unemployable. That's an old cliche that actually can work, and then is usually true for most of us that aren't entrepreneurs. And it's not that we don't think jobs are necessary, that they're not good. God, you need entrepreneurs as much as you need entrepreneurs. You can't have one without the other, because the entrepreneur is not going to do all the work. They do it
Mhm.
first, but eventually they need help.
Mhm.
But we, the entrepreneurs, are the ones that will sit there and go, "Yeah, I can't do this. I can't."
Mhm.
So, what was the first one you started?
The first business I
Yeah,
started?
yeah.
I
Aside,
mean, other than the photography one, I had an online travel agency for 5 years, and I thought that that's where I was gonna go, full time with that. Um, but then I started getting into podcasting and all of that, and so I wanted to focus more on that, but the bigger issue there was I closed up the travel agency last year,
okay.
or in 2020,
Mhm.
um, because because of COVID and everything, all my bookings got canceled, and you don't get paid as a travel agent until they
Yeah,
take their
they
trip.
go. Yeah, that blows, dude.
Yeah, and so I was like, "Oh, I think now is the time to stop doing that and focus on all the podcasting stuff." So I've done a variety of things kind of simultaneously, like a print on demand t-shirt
Oh yeah, I remember that
business.
business. That was who was the first one in that? I can't remember. Print tees. Who was the first one that did the print on demand?
Well, I used Spreadshirt back in the day.
That's a different one. I never heard of them. Are they out of the Midwest?
I'm not sure where I know it's in America, but I'm not sure where.
Yeah, I think we used Spring Tees. They were like one of the first ones
Spring
that we
tea.
found out here on the west
Okay.
region, and then we had some fun with that. But I'm not a clothing guy, so
Yeah.
I and the more I sat and looked at it, I was just kind of like, the amount of marketing that's going to have to go into this.
Yeah, exactly.
So till you hit the viral print, you know,
Right.
it becomes like, okay, let's try this one. All right, that was okay.
I also had a drop shipping business
That
of baby onesies
nice.
called Funsy Onesie. um
Gotta go with the name. Gotta go with the name.
yeah, and so I liked, well, either actually drop shipping and print on demand. What's nice about both of them is that you don't have to keep an inventory,
Yeah.
or there's very little, if any, overhead, because someone orders it and they pay, and then the person, yeah, it's
I think the
mailed.
most the most and most of those platforms, unless you wanted to get super involved, most of those platforms already had enough graphics and words. You didn't have to hire a graphics designer.
Hmm.
And even if you really did, you'd just go to Fiverr. I mean,
Right.
we're not talking like super, I need layers um, for Photoshop.
Hmm.
Going through all of that, what are some of the biggest lessons that you learned?
So I would say shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
I-
You're like the first one that's ever admitted it.
oh yeah. Oh, I
your
think
your authenticity is showing. Yeah, very good. Very good.
I think every entrepreneur probably experiences that at some point.
If they tell you that they didn't, they're lying on their teeth. We've all hit it at one point or another. It never fails. Some of us just get
Exactly.
over it faster than others.
Yeah, I think that was a big problem for me. And still, I mean, I still have that tendency, but I
We'll
I
always have
notice it
that
now.
tendency, Sarah. It's not unusual for us. Ooh,
Hmm.
oh, look, another T-shirt. It's never gonna change. I think it's
Right.
I think the fact that you picked up on that and figured out that yeah, I should probably stifle that.
Right.
It's probably one of the greatest lessons any entrepreneur should learn. I
Hmm.
still see it today. I mean, a lot of the new entrepreneurs that are coming online. Oh, look, here's a new tool. Oh, look, here's another tool. It's like this one still works. When you're gonna
Right.
go through a whole new learning curve to go learn something new again.
Hmm.
Unless you're an SEO guy, I get that. There's new stuff. It'll help improve whatever on the back end. Okay, I get it. But I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, do you really need to be getting all the latest, greatest, handy dandy chop stop slices, dices, and all of that stuff?
Right. Yeah, stick to what you know and stop getting distracted by every little new thing.
What else? What other things did you figure out?
Um, I spent so much time learning, which is important to learn. But I spent so much time like listening to podcasts, reading books, taking courses, all that stuff, and then not implementing it. And then so it's kind of like pointless. So now basically I try for every hour I spend learning, I try to spend another hour implementing it. Doesn't always work, but
We used to call that back in the days of seminars. We used to call those people seminar junkies.
okay.
Their bookshelf would be full of everybody's courses, and they would all have dust on them because
Oh.
when they get home, it's back to work, and they never
Mm,
do anything with it. I had to learn that one too because I myself was one. Um, that as you learn something new, you got to take a moment, even if it means stopping book, course, whatever, just stopping and going, I know some place where that might work, and actually going in there and trying it to see if it does, and
mm,
then it takes you off in a different tunnel vision kind of thing, where you end up getting back into the project, working for a little while, and
mhm,
then come back out later and start either the reading or watching again and seeing what else can happen. I like the courses where you can implement as you go, but
mhm,
if it doesn't, I'll stop. I'll stop these days and I'll take a minute and I'll be like, I think I have this. I can use this for this client, and then it's easier to get back to it later. It's not going
mhm,
anywhere, you know. So
mhm,
that's another good one.
mhm. Yeah, I think those are probably the two main or biggest issues I've had.
I think you've probably hit the two biggest that most of us have. Uh,
Mhm,
just simply because I mean, if you look at anybody's so successful now, they had to overcome distractions and get like hyper focus, um, which interestingly enough, hyper focus happens easier for those with ADHD and ADD than it does for those that don't have it.
mhm.
I didn't know this, but I have a friend who's ADHD, and he's like, yeah, I'll sit down and I'll start reading a book. As an example, he got into that zone for 3 weeks, and he read through the whole Bible.
Oh, wow.
That is a long book. Took me 365 days to get through it.
Mhm,
Took him 3 weeks, and I was like, yeah, bruh, if that's not hyper focus, I don't know what is. Um, but it's interesting when you can get into that zone, get that hyper focus. If you can read that well and that fast with comprehension, more power to you. But for the rest of
mhm.
us, it's kind of like, okay, I gotta take a break.
Yeah.
Speaking of breaks, I mean, we're known for being workaholics. When do you take a break? I mean, what do you do?
Well, I like to travel, back when that was a thing. But hopefully this year we'll get back to that.
Huh.
Uh,
This is not a political podcast. It's not a political podcast.
but I guess that's one way I take breaks is traveling.
Right.
because I
Any
find
any place specific that you like more than others, like that you enjoy going back to a lot, or
I love going back to New York City. There's just
oh,
always so much to do.
there is.
Um, I had a trip planned in April of 2020 to go to Hawaii, and it was completely paid for with miles.
You must as soon as they open up again, you must go. You must.
Yeah.
That is
Well,
why that's why I'm saying it.
did you say that's where you're from?
That's where I'm from.
Oh,
So
wow. Which island?
I'm from Maui.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Oahu before, but this last oh yeah, your name, Kaliki. How do you,
Kaleki. Yeah.
okay, I saw that earlier and I was like, that kind of sounds Hawaiian, but yeah,
Well,
okay,
yeah.
awesome.
And I've been mistaken for Italian and Persian. Go figure.
But yeah, so we had the trip. It was going to be the Big Island and Maui,
Awesome.
and for 2 weeks or a week and a half, something like that. Hotel was covered, rental car was covered, airfare all with miles.
Nice.
And we like worked up a year, like the whole thing where you
Oh yeah.
get a credit
Yep.
card, and if you spend $3,000 or whatever it is within 3 months, then you get like 50,000 miles or whatever.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
did that a couple of times. Of course, always paid it off. We just used it for
Sure.
all of our bills and stuff.
Sure.
And yeah, and accrued over 100,000 miles and blah blah blah. And then, COVID in March and everything. And so we had to cancel that. So I'm hoping maybe
Boo. I
this
need I
year.
need a, I need a soundboard. Boo. Stopping people from getting the worst part about it is that now, even to go to Hawaii now, for me to go home, I have to take a test that the state can pick up somewhere online to make sure that I don't have it.
Mm,
And it's like, okay, I really don't. I really don't see the. This is going to be this is a sensitive topic, so I'm going to be cautious on this. I've not had it, nor have I tested positive for it, but that wouldn't be relevant to the state. The state has to be able to see it themselves online, and I think the only ones that, well, one of the only ones that do it is CVS. So I have to go to CVS, and the test that they do, I don't like.
is that the nose one?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh.
I'm. You got to remember something. I come from a background where you don't put stuff in people's faces like that. Not a favorable thing, and the reaction might be somewhat not pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, you might want to keep that away from this. It's just, you can get the inside here, and that's about all you got. Yeah. I don't know. Even comes up with these tests. It's like, really, you got to go that far? And then China's thing. I anyway. So hopefully, when they open up again, yes, go. You should go. You will love it. It is beautiful. Big Island and Maui, awesome choices.
Mm,
Um, if you're doing 2 weeks, it's gonna be an action-packed run,
mm-hmm.
because there's, as much as it doesn't look like it, there's a lot to do on a daily basis. There's all
Mm.
kinds of cool places to visit. There's tours all over the place. I know on the Big Island, well, I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but I know they have both the macadamia and the coffee farms out there. That you can
That's
go.
what we were gonna do. Yeah.
And then they also have some caves that you can hike in. They're not hard to get into. It's a nice thing about Hawaii is that our caves are not like the ones we have here, where you got to worry about falling over the edge. Um, my sister lives up in Volcano.
Mm.
Go. What else? What other fun things do you do for taking breaks besides travel?
Well, reading. I mean, it feels like a
Break.
break to me, but
That's a break. That's a break. What kind of stuff do you like to read?
well, it's mainly entrepreneurial books.
Okay.
Um, let's see. Are you familiar with Russell Brunson?
Sure.
Okay, I love all his books, his 3
Mhm.
books. I've read all of them like twice. Um, man, I have so many books. I'm trying to. Hmm.
The fact that you like to read entrepreneurial books and usually leads into self-development, that's good stuff.
Hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, it feels relaxing to me, but
And so your day-to-day now is what? I mean, like, is it just set up podcasts? Are you still doing the production thing, or?
yeah, the production agency, and yeah, podcasting, whether I'm doing my own or a guest on one. the production agency. Now I'm working on the course. I've written 3 books, but I think that's it. I'm not doing any others.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
there's still you gotta hear me out on this one. There's still the memoirs of Sarah St. John. Now listen to that title. Listen to that title. That it got a nice flow to it. Seems a little booky, but it can work very well. It can work very well.
I don't know. That might be kind of a boring book, but
My butt is boring. Come on. There is no way your book's gonna be boring. Oh, geez. You've started somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 businesses. How can that be freaking boring?
that's true. I guess that's a good point.
Yeah, don't yet. Let's just leave it at yet. ... We'll put it that way. So you have about 4 running simultaneously now.
For
Concurrent.
4 things.
4 things.
Yeah, and it's all around podcasting. At least I've niched down and because before I was doing drop shipping and
Yeah,
a travel agency and like a million different things.
that's
But at
just
least this is all within the same.
Yeah, it becomes disjointed after a while. You have to change
Yeah.
mindsets and operations. I did that too, and that was why I kind of stepped out and said, all right, I'm just going to stick to marketing and podcasting, and I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll stay in my lane, guys. It's all good. I'm not going to come in anybody else's. That's always fun. All right, guys. Well, we're going to take a short pause, and when we come back, we're gonna get into, because we're all talking about books, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what motivates, what inspires, and what gets her moving, and what keeps her moving. So we'll be back in like 30 seconds. And we're back sitting here, Java Chat, with Sarah St. John, and she kind of talked about some of the stuff earlier about books that she's read. And we're going to go dig into that, because this is obviously the section we talk about inspiration, motivation, what gets you moving, what gets you there, and what gets you through it, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the world, where there's a lot of people questioning whether or not things are going to get any better. And they are, but in the meantime, what do we do? So, what kinds of things have inspired you? Like when you started getting into all of this stuff, Russell obviously is definitely one that you follow or followed. You've been through his books. Awesome. Who were some of the other inspirations that got you to like, yeah, I can do this?
Mm-hmm. Oh, probably some of the usual typicals, like Pat Flynn.
Okay. Yeah.
John Lee Dumas.
Okay.
Let's see, Amy Porterfield.
Yep, we know Amy.
Oh man, there's so many. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Let me pull up. I listen to a bunch of different podcasts. So
She's not just a practitioner, she's a consumer.
let's see. Oh, Dan Henry. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I've heard that name too.
Okay. He's a more recent one for me.
Well, while you're looking at that, what is it about Dan that got your attention?
I'm trying to remember how I stumbled upon him, because I think it must have been something through Russell Brunson, because I know that Dan Henry is, a ClickFunnels guy, and like the 2 Comma Club award winner or whatever.
Yep.
Somehow I think I stumbled like on a video or something, and it was very captivating. Like, so now I've watched like all his YouTube videos and his podcasts, and he tells stories, and he's very motivational, and he gets right to the point. They're like, his podcasts are like, they're usually under 20 minutes. His YouTubes are usually like 5 to 15 minutes.
Yeah,
And like
a course. Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, very actionable. And I think one of his YouTube videos, I forget now what it was about, but it like almost made me cry, like had me tear up. I'd have to go back and see what it was. But yeah, he's just so good. And I'd love to work with him I know he has masterminds and things of that nature, but it's way out of, I'm a frugalpreneur. It's way out of my budget range for right now. But maybe someday, I would like it if I know he has like a membership that has several courses, which I think is also above my range. But if he could release like a course that's just like a solo course by itself, then maybe I could afford that. He actually just came out with a planner, so I might get that because it actually comes with a free like productivity course.
Nice.
So I almost kind of want to. I'm not like a big planner like I don't usually use planners that much. Um, but I think I would pay the 35 bucks for the planner just to get the course.
So let me do this real quick, guys. We're not endorsing Dan Henry here. We're just talking about what he does. And by the way, Dan, you're welcome. If you happen to hear this, reach out to Sarah and go make a course with her, please. The
I'd
woman
love to
follows you. She gets what you do. Go work with her.
I'd love to have him on my show, yeah.
Well, at least go on a podcast. Go inspire some of our listeners. It's what's really interesting is that we we're never sure, because you have a podcast like I do. We're never sure who we're going to get,
Mhm.
and we're never sure what their stories are. We get the bios, but this is why I do what I do, is because I don't know everything. That was on your website is the whole story. What was his name? That guy that used to do the rest of the story. He did his radio show. It was a talk show. I'll have to go find it now. But I like to hear the rest of the story,
Mhm.
because it wasn't just about you being a success in podcasting or being a success as an entrepreneur, or it wasn't just one struggle. I'm sure there were multiple days where you got up and you're just like, fuck, I'm not inspired. I can't do this.
Mhm.
Yeah, we all
Mhm.
we all have it. But that's why I bring guests like yourself on, because you get up and you're like, yeah, I don't feel motivated, but screw it. I'm up, I'm at it. Let's go. And the why is there, the how shows up, and all of a sudden the machine starts humming.
Mhm.
And then you get to an eventual state of some kind of flow, and sometimes not, and they're both okay. And this is the part that I think a lot of new entrepreneurs keep forgetting. Like, they still worry about the failure factor, and it's like, yeah, um, your point being, it's gonna happen.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you had to put a couple of businesses away because they just weren't being fed business anymore.
Mm.
You don't keep something open so it bleeds you dry financially. That's not the point of opening a business. If you got to shut it down, you got to shut it down. Just go find
Mhm.
something else to do.
Mhm.
And you keep standing up, and keep getting up every day. Um, do you do any of the stuff like you wake up in the morning, affirmations and reading goals? Do you do any of that stuff?
No, not really. I just get up, shower, and go.
So, because I've had entrepreneurs that are super detailed and
Mm.
go digging real deep, and real, that's how they find their success. And I have other entrepreneurs just like you. They get up, that alarm clock hits.
Mm.
In some cases, they're up before the alarm clock, and they come back to turn off the alarm, going, "Yep, beat you again," and they go.
Yep, exactly.
And I want people to hear that, because it's like there is no correct way to get to that point. There are paths that you can take. They'll still end up, it's the all roads lead to Rome kind of thing. Some roads might be a little more detailed, some might be cobblestones.
Mm.
How you want to get there, what's your comfort zone, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, yeah. I find a lot of times when the entrepreneur bug strikes, after the initial fear settles in, like, oh my gosh, well, am I gonna do this? Oh, I guess I'm gonna do this. That people start worrying about, well, what if so and so finds out that I'm not doing it this way? Or
Mm.
what if people find out that I'm doing this instead of this? What are they gonna think? And it still comes back to, it doesn't matter what people think.
Mhm.
What matters is your relationship with them, whether they like you or not, whether they like what your company is and your product, in that order. It's still about you first. If you can't build a relationship, it doesn't matter what path you take.
Mhm.
You ain't getting nowhere.
Yeah, I don't think there is just one set or correct path. I think
Nope.
it's different for every individual.
That's the point right there, is that everybody is an individual, and people need to realize that you're going to get one, if you've listened to the markets properly, obviously all the business chatter that and stuff behind that. If you listen to the market properly, the right people will come, the right consumers or the right customers, whether that's B2B or B2C, will come. You have to do your part, but how you get there is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a smile and dial kind of guy, it does work. We still do it in business development today for business to business. That's how you generate business. You call people up, go, hey, you want to buy my shit? You can't do that on LinkedIn, but you can still do that on the phone, and people will give you a positive response. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody. You're going to have your fail rate. You can't tell me that the same thing doesn't happen with the digital side of LinkedIn. You're not going to get them all either,
Mm-hmm.
but the right ones will come.
Yeah, exactly.
So which way you want to go? Right?
Right, exactly.
So as you were going through on your daily, obviously you get up in the morning, it's charge it, let's go. That's awesome. What other things do you do? Maybe in the midst of a day, you get a slump. What do you do? How do you get out of it?
Hmm. Well, sometimes I take a little nap. That seems to help.
I have a friend, I swear to you, this is his answer. I go in the bathroom and I take a dump, and then I'm better. I'm not kidding. That's not a joke. I mean, yeah, it's hilarious as shit. Sorry, that was a bad one.
Literally.
Oh, that was terrible. It's funny as anything out there. Even that didn't work. But that's his way of stress relief. He literally says that. He goes, if I need to relieve stress, I go and I take a dump. And I'm looking at him, I'm going, it's a guy that makes 7 figures a year. And this is how he relieves stress.
So he just he can do that on demand practically.
I don't know if it's on demand. I never asked. I didn't get that far. But that's what he does. Again, whatever path to get there, right? I mean, if that's what you need, that's what you... Oh, this conversation just went south fast. Other than an app and a bathroom visit, what kind of other things do you think might have kept you moving, have kept you going?
Um, I I mean, I guess
You obviously have some. You must have some clients that are like, basically they come back to you and they give you some kind of praise, and you're just like, yeah, that's why I do this.
yeah. Yeah, stuff like that, I guess, is motivating when you know that regardless of what you're doing, even if it's like a podcast episode or whatever is making a difference, or maybe like when you get a podcast review, like a Apple podcast review or something like that. Yeah, that I think those
So
things.
small, but it's so huge to us because it's like they actually took the time to go and say something
Right, exactly.
nice. They're not thrashing me, even though I know what I did. They still like it.
Right.
I get that too. That's
Mm.
probably one of the greatest feelings in the world when somebody goes, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for doing
Yeah,
it.
definitely.
Yeah.
Or petting my dog.
There you
That's
go.
nice. Yeah.
Is your dog there with you?
Oh, well, he's in a different room.
No. I've had some of my guests bring their pooches in, and
Oh.
it's always fun. Especially when they can't keep quiet. It's even funnier. But what is it? What do they call them? They're starting to bring canines into offices now. It's not emotional support, but they're there, and they literally hang out with the person at the desk.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, it's adorable. I walked into a mortgage office, and that's kind of a high stress area, and there was a little dog sitting underneath one bed. There's another dog over the other side, just literally sitting next to the person while they were working on the thing. And then you see them type, and
Oh.
every once in a while they do this number. They reach down and they pet the dog, and I'm going, These dogs are mighty patient because most dogs just die for attention.
Mm-hmm.
These dogs just seem content to just be here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's cool. That's I'd do that in a heartbeat because all I got's a cat and she throws me attitude all day. That's not good.
Yeah, I have a pug. Yeah.
Oh, those are adorable.
Yeah.
They look like they chase too many parked cars. But anyway, they're still adorable.
Yeah.
And they can look in two directions at once. It's kind of interesting. But
Yeah.
you gotta wonder sometimes. It's just like when they were handing out the pedigrees, what happened to you, dude?
Oh, they're so cute though.
They're adorable. Are you kidding? They're super loving. My neighbor has
Mm-hmm.
one. It's Don Julio is his name,
Oh, that's cute.
and I'm like, what's that?
Doesn't really.
Is that Don Quixote's sidekick, or I don't know what does that mean? How'd you get Don Julio? She explained it to me. I can't remember it. It's a cool dog. What other things do you think people can look to as as a new entrepreneur, somebody who's going to start that little side hustle? I mean, they're going to run into all the same thoughts that we did. What are some of the things you think they can look to get out of that mind and take inspiration from whoever? What do you think would be a good piece of advice when somebody starts running into that road that happens? What would you suggest?
Well, I mean, I think people get discouraged easily when a certain business or a business idea fails.
Yep.
But I think, well, probably because they see all these, big celebrities or entrepreneurs or whatever making millions of dollars, and they feel like those people came, overnight. And it's like maybe we became aware of somebody overnight, but they probably spent years getting to that point to where their business was big enough to where you would even hear about it.
Yeah.
So just it's okay if a business fails. I mean, I don't know of anyone who's gotten it right the first time around. And yeah, so I mean, don't get discouraged, and just keep going. And I think that's one thing that I've always been good with, is even when I get discouraged or I just keep going. I think that's a normal part of entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
is that we're usually pretty persistent, and even if something fails, we just kind of pick ourselves back up and keep going on to that next thing, and hopefully that next thing will, take off or whatever. And like for me, I had some success with the photography business
Sure.
and the online travel agency. Not a whole lot with a bunch of the other like online stuff. But what's weird is that, I don't know if weird isn't the right word. Interesting, maybe. Is that it was the podcasting and all things kind of encompassing podcasting that took off, or is what ultimately where I found home, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's interesting is because I didn't even listen to podcasts until about a year prior to when I started my podcast,
Mhm.
because I'm a very music oriented person. And
Yep.
so like I would always listen to music when I was driving, and anytime a commercial came on or the DJ started talking, I would switch channels until I found something with music. And so when people would talk about podcasting, like, oh, you should check out this podcast, I'd be like, I don't think that interests me, because I wasn't interested in hearing people talk. But then I started hearing about specific podcasts like Smart Passive Income, Entrepreneur on Fire, and so on. And I
Yep.
was like, well, that topic interests me. I guess I'll give it a listen. And I was hooked. I mean, because it's so niche. Um, Most podcasts don't have commercials and ads for the most part. Or at least they're not as long. Or if they are, at least it's usually tailored to something that you would be interested in, not just some random thing. And so all of that made it appealing, and so I became addicted to or obsessed with listening to podcasts. And then but even when I started my own podcast, it wasn't initially meant to be some long-term thing. But then I got hooked and all that stuff. So it's interesting that the thing that I didn't think I'd even be interested in or be good at, or I've always been self-conscious of my voice. I've never liked my voice. And
Why?
so
Your voice is fine. Nothing
i
wrong with it.
I don't know. I remember as a kid, and I don't think this is the only reason. Well, first of all, I think the voice that you hear and the voice that other people hear is different. Obviously, we all know that. And so I just wasn't used to hearing it. But I remember as a kid, I want to say it was like fourth or fifth grade, I was new to the school or whatever. And this boy was interested in me initially, but then I found out he lost interest when he heard me speak.
Oh, goodness.
Like he didn't like my voice. I guess because for a female, it's kind of on the lower side. And so maybe that's what it was. I'm not sure. But so I've always been self-conscious of that. Um, but yet that's the thing that's now propelling. Yeah, it's just interesting.
voice voice quality in different tonalities, textures, and pitch elicit different kinds of emotions depending on what you're talking about.
Hmm.
For me, because I was a musician for 15 years, my vocal range was about 5 octaves.
Mm,
So I was actually able to sing up in the alto registry for when I was younger. I couldn't now, and I was able to sing about where you hear me speaking right now.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then if I try to go below that, you can tell it's forced because it just gets real thin.
But I have friends when they open their mouth and they speak, they have bass voices.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody just melts in their seats. I also have friends that have tenor voices, but the texture and the smoothness of their voice does the same thing. And it like we were talking about earlier, it goes back to the same premise that everybody responds to stimulus differently. So although he missed out on a great woman, that's his problem. You have a voice that can easily be listened to
Mm,
via podcast because it's
mm,
not too high. And you got to have a little bass in your voice if you're talking about business.
mm. Hmm.
Just a perspective to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. You do have a good voice you have the voice for radio.
And it's funny because I've heard some people say that. They're like, your voice is soothing and stuff. I'm like,
Hmm. Yeah, it is.
okay.
It can very well be. Actually, I know of when I lived back in Hawaii, I knew of two women that were broadcasters that had your kind of voice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, and they usually did they usually either did the news or one did evening broadcast.
Hmm.
Lots of listeners, people knew who she was.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. You see, I have a face for radio, which is perfect. The voice just kind of comes along with it.
Oh.
But no, seriously. Um, where were we going with this?
I guess to start out, you were asking me when entrepreneurs need more motivation or they're kind of stuck in a rut, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, to not get stuck on things,
Mm-hmm.
because that's honestly minutia.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's your voice that you're worried about or how you look. Yeah, you can dress up and look wonderful in clothes. Anybody can do that. And you can have a face for radio and still look excellent on a screen or on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I've known some guys that I wouldn't even stand close to in a photo, but shit, when they dress up, nobody wants to be away from them. I mean, I can't even get close to them at that point. And it's not that they're bad people. I'm just using that as an example. It's don't let the small shit bother you.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had to go through that too. I mean, waking up in the morning going, did that damn sale go through?
Mm.
Let's go check.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do wrong on that sale? And we have this tendency as entrepreneurs to get hyper focused on the issue rather
Mm-hmm.
rather than a solution for it the next round.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to know your history, but don't get stuck on it. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, these are some real interesting points, and thanks for sharing that. We're going to take another 30-second break, you guys, and when we come back, we're going to find out what's coming with Sarah St. John, the Frugalpreneur podcast, and the memoirs. We're going to talk about the memoirs. See you back at 30. And we're back here. Last section of Java Chat. We just got through laughing our asses off at something that we kind of came up with as we were sitting on the break. Oh, sitting, damn. It's not gonna stop. I'm telling you, it's gonna get worse. We're just gonna fly. We're gonna have to give context if we don't stop. This is gonna take too long. So, okay. So, Sarah, you now have the Frugalpreneur. Actually, if I remember correctly, that's actually the name. That's the URL for your website, right? The Frugalpreneur.
No, that's
Oh, I'm sorry.
um
It's thesarahstjohn.com. That's where you go to find the Frugalpreneur.
yeah.
The podcast is there.
Mhm.
I think the books are there too.
Yeah, the podcast, the books, the course, the
27 tools I use. Talk to me about that.
oh yes.
Let's yeah, give me some. let me hear it, mama. Tell me what's up.
Yeah, so that's a page on my website that are basically I use all of those. Those are like the 27, or actually I think it's like 29 now, but whatever. Tools
Keep shouting.
that I use to operate my businesses. And a lot of them are free or super affordable. Like for email marketing, I use SendFox, which is free up
I've
to
heard of them. Yeah.
up to a certain number of subscribers. But what I like about them, especially for a content creator, whether you're a podcaster, blogger, YouTuber, is that you can input your YouTube link or your podcast or blog RSS feed, and it'll automatically generate a new newsletter every week
Really?
based on your content that you put out there.
That's awesome.
So it saves time.
Yes, it
So
does.
so I use that. And that's created by a company called AppSumo.
Mhm.
And
I know the
they,
voice.
yeah.
I
And
didn't
then,
realize that they made that. That's cool. They come up with
yeah,
some cool stuff, man.
yeah. King Sumo is another thing I use, which is also free and it's also by them. And I use that for my giveaways. And then Sumo, also by them and free.
Gee, you can't even tell.
Yeah.
It's not a branding thing by chance, is it?
I'm surprised SendFox doesn't have Sumo. It should have been,
That
you
would have
know
been
what
a
it
Send
should have
Sumo.
been?
Yeah,
Send Sumo. It
yeah,
should have been Send Sumo. Oh, what's
yeah.
wrong with them?
They
Dang
had to
it.
break away from the norm.
I mean, it would have been good alliteration and everything. Like, what's
Hey,
wrong?
the brand consistency. It's all about brand consistency.
So Sumo is like where you can set up, like on my website, for example, it's kind of like a hello bar if you've
Yeah,
heard of those,
yeah.
but it's Sumo. And then, or like if you're trying to exit the website, a pop-up appears, things like that. Let's see what else. I love Descript
We use
for,
Descript.
yeah, for podcasts, especially for like podcast transcription and editing and all that.
You,
I love it.
you've seen some of the new improvements that they've had too. You can actually edit the videos inside there now.
Yeah, I've heard about, I haven't tried it yet, but
It's a beast. A little bit of a learning curve, but it's a beast. I'm still using Movie Maker, but I have interns that are learning how to do that. And
mm,
once they get to that point, I'm going to turn the videos over to them and see how they do with it.
mm-hmm.
And I can't wait because Descript, first off, as a tool, Descript is wonderful for transcribing. Super
Mm-hmm.
accurate. Hardly any editing. I mean, it's just a matter of, if there's two of us, they just have to make sure that there's no space or things that need to be edited out.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much. It just makes it so much more. And then you can take that whole freaking thing and stick it on your blog. SEO
Yeah.
all day.
And I love how you can edit the audio
Yeah.
from
From the text.
so I can take out ums and uhs and all that within the
all
click of
day,
a button.
all day, and it's like 20 some odd bucks a month or something like that.
Yeah, the one I have, and this is like one of the very few things I actually pay for.
Yeah.
I think mine is 15 a month. I'm thinking about going up to the 30 a month
That's where
because
we're
that
at.
has okay, because that has other stuff like audiograms and whatever.
Well, and we do. I This week I've only recorded 3, but like last week I actually had to move 1, 2. I had to move 3 last week. I had 6 scheduled.
Mm,
And but you can process all of that, and as you've noticed, these do have a tendency to get kind of deep and long.
hmm
Um, you got to be able to handle the time and the amount of content. So
Yeah. So yeah, I might jump up to that version because right now I do audiograms and headliner, which I also put on there because that's free.
yeah, we use Headliner as well. Great. You know
Yeah,
what's
there's
funny?
so many tools.
Some of the Headliner app the cool thing that I caught about that, and I learned this from Sean Douglas, who's another podcaster. He's got the Life Transformation podcast. He's like, use Headliner, and they give you 10 free, and then after that they put their watermark on your videos. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, yeah, that's my attitude too. Doesn't matter. I mean, if you're gonna give it to me free and you want to promote yourself, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
it's not like it's not a watermark across the whole thing. It's a
right.
little thing on the bottom. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, please have at it. No problem. And the things you can do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very generous free plan.
Especially because you can create, and I usually do this after the show. You can create up to about 10 pieces of content from one podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to do that?
Yeah, yeah. Content repurposing, it's nice because well, and I also use repurpose.io as well.
Like it would,
I use both
yeah.
for
No,
different things.
they're both good.
Yeah.
What I've done with some of our guests that don't know what Headliner is. And by the way, if you're listening and pick up on this, guys, Headliner app's free. Use it. I mean, if you're a guest on a podcast, use this. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's easy, and you don't have to pay for it. But you can take the whole podcast, obviously. You put that on a banner. You stuff that on IGTV. That's one. Instagram
Mm-hmm.
creates a promotional post. That's 2. Create a square for a minute. That's 3. Well, now you can put that both on Facebook and Instagram. That's 4. Take that same minute and go vertical. That's 4 pieces on Instagram stories and 2 on Facebook. Same podcast. 10.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just Instagram and Facebook. You can
Mm-hmm.
also take it over to Twitter. You got 2 more over there. That's 12.
Mm-hmm.
I figured out how to get it on Pinterest. That's 13. I also figured
Mm-hmm.
out most of my stuff gets over to Tumblr. 14, 15. So if you know how to use it and can get it syndicated fairly easily, you can have as much as 15 off of one podcast
Mm-hmm.
on a free
Yeah.
app.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is change the friggin' background
Right.
to make it
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do these days. And for free.
Under the frugality.
Right, exactly.
We call it the frugality clause. It's something that we entrepreneurs love to live by. Yeah, we didn't get into business to make everybody else rich. We're trying to make a business run. That's all we're trying to do here.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the podcast. You said you're into it about 80 episodes so far?
Yeah, around there. Because I
Okay.
have some bonus episodes. I don't really count that in the number. So yeah, it's about 80.
We do too. And I didn't start interviewing people until the end of 2018, and I think we're about 100 in at this point or so.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the types of guests that you get?
So this year I'm doing things a little differently where I'm trying to get guests who have started a business with under $1,000 and built it to at least $1 million,
Mhm.
not per year, but just period,
Yeah.
without any kind of outside capital or loans or credit or investments, any of that stuff, just like bootstrapped it.
Full bootstrap. I got you.
So that's what I'm doing this year. But prior to that, I would basically interview certain entrepreneurs that I, followed within, like, if I wanted to do an episode on affiliate marketing or on Amazon e-com or like podcasting or blogging or whatever aspect, I would just reach out to someone that I already followed, and most of the time they would say yes, and so I'd interview them. Um, so yeah, that's mainly, I guess, either people that I follow, look up to, or now this year.
The new,
Um,
yeah, the
yeah.
new, the new brood. No, that's a great idea. I don't think people appreciate enough what bootstrapping means and what it's about. Back in the day when I first started as an entrepreneur, you didn't have all the different tools that you have available to you now.
Mhm.
We literally we started a jewelry business. No idea why we did that. We started a jewelry business in Hawaii, even worse,
Mm,
and started out at the flea markets.
mm,
And we did okay, but we found ourselves eventually just working to keep gas in the car. Wasn't
mm,
worth it. First failure. Then we went into furniture, and it was a good connection, but again, we were in the wrong place. Um,
mhm,
as you learn, you grow. Um, I think that's going to give some good insight to people to get them to understand this is doable. So,
mhm,
so awesome choice. I can't wait to hear some of these, and please tag us in them so we can take a listen. We do
mhm,
love sharing our guests whenever we hear something really good. We like to share as well.
mhm.
Um, you said you have 3 books. What are the 3 books?
So frugalpreneur, authorpreneur, and podcastpreneur.
Okay,
It's like a preneur series or a
cool.
trifecta or trilogy, whatever.
Yeah,
Frugalpreneur is about like the different types of online businesses you can have and how to do them on a budget. That was that original idea that I had. And then I wrote authorpreneur because I self-published frugalpreneur. And so it's kind of about how to self-publish basically.
okay.
And then podcastpreneur is about podcasting. And so basically as I learn something, then I end up writing a book about it apparently.
That's that's actually that's pretty awesome. Um, I don't know what other preneurs there might be in that series, but I'm fairly sure it's worth writing, no matter how you look at it. Because again, it's all about perspective, right?
Mhm.
You've taken one run at it, somebody else has taken another run at it. Oh, it might be a good idea. This is just a thought. Find some other entrepreneurs that have other perspectives about that preneur run and do one of those collaborative books. And you
Mhm.
publish it.
Mhm.
Because that's one of those deals where those authors will invest to participate,
Mhm.
and then the book will sell because they'll buy copies, and then you can put it on Amazon. And I got a few of those over here from some friends of mine who participated.
Mhm.
Their investments were anywhere from, I think the lowest was like 1,500 or something like that, and they're busy coaches these days, and that
Mhm.
is their promo deal. Right? They never wrote a book; they just do that, and that was it. I know a couple people who dropped as much as 15 to 25. Same
Mhm.
story. They're just higher end ticket deals. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, maybe that's an idea. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah,
I'll have to think about that.
yeah. More more fun stuff for you to go play with. Shiny object.
You're right.
Um, take it or leave it. It's up to you. Do what you want. Kick it around. Um, anything else in the works for you?
Yeah, so I'm working on a course right now about podcasting, um, called podcastprofitpro.com. It's actually on pre-sale right now. I'm still working on the course. It's not live yet. I'm
Mhm.
hoping in a couple months or so.
Okay. Okay.
But it's on pre-sale now for like 80% off. So
Do you
yeah,
have do you have an affiliate program attached to it?
not yet because the program that I'm using to, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Guru Can, and it was an AppSumo deal
Okay.
where you paid like 79 bucks once,
Yeah.
and then, because everything else, all these other like Teachable and whoever, 40, 50, 100 bucks a month. So I jumped on that. And that's something that they're working on implementing to where you can have an affiliate program so that someone can refer your course,
Sure.
and then
Sure.
yeah. So that's currently not available yet, but it will be.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you have a target date when that might be released? So anybody that's listening to this can know if it's out or not yet.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see. And I don't know when this episode will go live. But I'm hoping by like May.
Yeah, this will be out.
Eh,
But I'm thinking for anybody that's listening, in August or
hmm.
November, if they know
Oh,
the podcast, they'll be able to go, oh, well, so it's up, it's open. It's open. I can go look. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right, right.
We forget sometimes, and it's called in perpetuity. It stays
That's
on
true.
for many years if you leave it there.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'm hoping May, June, somewhere in there
Of
of
2021.
2021.
Yeah, of 2021. In case somebody's listening in 25 going, oh, it just came out. That's cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'll add updates to it as well.
And
Like
this,
it'll be kind of a course that continues to evolve and stuff.
so this is an A to Z course, what to start, how to start, where to start. that kind
Yeah,
of-
so it has the basics in it,
Okay.
like how to start a podcast and all that's involved with that. But the primary focus is podcast hosting and podcast guesting, like how to find guests, how to be a good host, different tips and tactics, and all these different things.
Mhm, mhm.
So like creative ways to pitch and things of that nature. And I plan to have, some videos and some like PDFs of checklists
Yeah,
and
yeah. Need it.
yeah, all that kind of stuff, like
Definitely
full
need it.
blown
Good, good, good.
course.
That's gonna be good. So it's a how-to kind of deal. That's awesome. Cool. And then are you gonna be speaking at any engagements anytime in the next year or so, or?
Actually, I was asked for, it's called Pod Fiesta or Podcast Fiesta. It's in Australia, but it's an online event.
Sweet.
So yeah, on April 10th
Okay.
of 2021. So I'll have like a little presentation and
And it's something you said it was Podfest?
Pod Fiesta Summit, I believe. Pod Fiesta, yeah. I don't even know if they have I know they have an Eventbrite for it, but I don't know if they have a website yet. I think they're like throwing it all. I know Dave Jackson. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's
I've heard the name.
yeah, he's gonna be speaking at it.
Well,
Yeah.
good. That's congratulations for that.
Oh, thank you.
That's always a cool deal when you start getting recognized as, hey, we should have so and so speaking because they look like they know what they're doing. We
Yeah,
never
I
tell
was
them we do or don't. We just say, okay.
right.
I still do small things here and there for a company called Lorman. They're basically a corporate seminar company, and they asked me to do subjects around business etiquette. And I'm like, still relevant? Okay, cool, sure, why not? Let's do it.
Right.
It doesn't change. Just if people would just wake the hell up and be present, they'd probably do fine. Um, another podcast for another time, I'm sure. Well, okay, guys. So again, let me make sure it's thesarahstjohn.com. You'll have the links down below in comments. If you have any questions, obviously drop them down in the comments. She's gonna have the links to this both on YouTube and Anchor. Drop a question there. If you really want to know though, get over to her website. Go ask her over there. She'll be happy to answer you as she can. Grab the books. They sound like a cool thing. I'm probably gonna have to order all 3 of them now. Thanks a lot.
Well, and actually you can even get them for free, the PDF version,
Okay.
at thesarahstjohn.com/free.
Ooh.
So I
Take
get them.
note. Take note. That link will also be down in the bottom. And then we'll also have we'll have a link to our podcast too, you guys. So if you want to just get the podcast directly, you can get there as well. If you're watching us here on YouTube, Saturday, I'm supposed to be out hiking right now. Anyway, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. The bell next to it is the important one. Click that one too. That way you know when we get awesome guests like this coming and joining us here on Java Chat. If you're listening to us on any of the podcast platforms, make sure you download or subscribe there. If you're on our home platform, which is anchor.fm, feel free to drop us some love. We could always use it, right? we end these the same. We always love the fact that you make time and take time to come and listen to us. There's others that haven't. If you think this is relevant to them, share it. Hit the share button, throw it at them, put it in Messenger, throw it in an email, and just say, hey, thought you might like this. We'll take a listen. There's gold in all of these. Every guest that I've ever brought on has always shared some kind of awesome wisdom. In this case, you got a ton, because you got it straight from an entrepreneur who's been there and done that. Share it with them so they can get a little taste of it as well. So, thank you, Sarah, for coming and hanging out with me again.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
I had a blast.
Yeah, it was fun.
I swear almost to the illegal level, but we had some fun here. We always tell everybody the same thing: stay up, stay safe, stay healthy, and live. For myself, Coffee with Mike and Sarah St. John. Ciao for now.
For more information on Java Chat, visit www.javachatpodcast.com. You've been listening to Coffee with Mike on Java Chat. Tune in weekly to this podcast for the next episode. You can also download or subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform. A production of Oasis Media Group, LLC. Located in Las Vegas, Nevada. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved.